Now then, so I just thought I'd make a quick video about this, the gig being rescheduled and stuff really. There's been a lot of chatter about it obviously. And I know as well it's taken a long time for anything to happen on that front. But as I've said on Twitter, everyone's in the same boat really in terms of that. Anyone looking to book things or that's had things booked anyway for, when our thing was. A lot of it revolved around the government getting their guidelines out, do you know what I mean? So nothing could happen before that. It's not ideal in the sense that lots of people have had travel arrangements and stuff because people are coming from all over the place for this gig. So I'm just pleased that we've finally been able to get that announcement out. It took some sorting out, which obviously, as I've explained, it's all down to sort of booking agents and the promoters and stuff to let us know when it's feasible dates and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm just pleased that's all sorted, and I think that summer 2022 is the best way to go personally. And I know some things are happening later this summer even, but I don't know, man. It just feels too soon to me. In terms of everything that's going on, regulations, vaccines and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, no doubt that if things are on track, things are looking good. But I don't know, I think you also got to realise as well that I think a lot of the events that are pushing to happen, like the Leeds Festival and stuff like that, I don't know, they're big corporate things, do you know what I mean, where they're going to be looking at turnover and profits and stuff like that. That's not what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? Where this is much more about us being able to celebrate everything along with you guys. Do you know what I mean? It's not some rolling thing that needs to keep making profits, if you know what I mean. So that's why we're not kind of really desperate to do it as soon as we can. I think people are a bit confused that we haven't tried to schedule it for as soon as we can after these regulations, but why would you? Do you know what I mean? Like, the only negative I can see is the fact that people were really looking forward to it, do you know what I mean? And it was looking like it was going to be one of the first events out of lockdown and that, but obviously, that went when we had the third lockdown or whatever. And then obviously the guidelines came in place. So to me, it feels like the right thing to do, and it feels like the right day as well. Especially with it being on that, I think it's like a one-off bank holiday, the Thursday and the Friday. Well, I don't know all about that stuff, but I know a lot of people are confused by the Thursday bank holiday, but that's kind of what makes it work, if you know what I mean. The fact that it is a bank holiday. So yeah, that is what it is, and I think it's the best thing. And I know it's long away, but it'll be on us before we know it. Do you know what I mean? Like, how fast is this year gone? I'm sure, like I say, that time will be coming round before we know it. And the main thing as well that a lot of people aren't taking into account, I don't think, is sort of practice and rehearsal time for us. Before we've had like three practices. Do you know what I mean? Because everyone's busy, X, Y, Z. Do you know what I mean? So because everything's been locked down, all the practice rooms have been locked down. Now, it's not like we've been able to practice in the meantime. So even if things got opened up like, I don't know, even late March, early April, do you know what I mean? It doesn't give us enough time, I don't think personally, to really get to a level where we're comfortable and confident playing. Because it's one thing, like, I know you guys are all like, oh, you sound great in the practice room, come on, you can play like that. Do you know what I mean? That's like one or two songs that have never been that hard, do you know what I mean? Like the people, that's never going to be that hard to remember, but there's lots of others that we haven't played yet that are going to take a lot of time to get back up to a decent standard. So it's not like the glimpses we've given you are sort of a true indicator of where we are. And that's the other thing, it's one thing playing a couple of songs in an hour, do you know what I mean? Just getting used to it, but then when you're playing back to back to back, and especially for Rob singing, do you know what I mean? That's one thing that Rob's got to build back up to We all have, do you know what I mean? There's the sort of endurance side of it, being on stage and playing the songs back to back to back. It takes it higher in the end. So there's a lot of that to be done, a lot of building back up to that. But yeah, it gives us more time to get it right. It gives us more time to guarantee that it's a proper unrestricted show. Do you know what I mean? To my mind, it'd just be such an anticlimax doing it under any kind of restrictions. And I know some people might say, well, they'll all be gone by that time. I'm sorry, you just don't know. In my opinion anyway, you just don't know. And what would be the point of having to, say we put it later in the summer rather, and, publicise that, and something were to happen again, and then we turn around and go, right, that one's cancelled as well. Do you know what I mean? We might as well just kind of shoot for June 2022. I just think that makes the most sense for everyone involved, for everyone. And I know, you can never play. I shouldn't be worried about it. Well, I'm not worried about it, but I shouldn't be thinking about this stuff too much. And I'm sure some people will be saying I shouldn't be making videos about it either, but I don't care. It's my channel, do you know what I mean? I make videos about whatever I want. But yeah, you can't please everyone. Do you know what I mean? And there'll have been people on the original day who were like, oh man, I'd love to go, but I can't because I've got this on. And then unfortunately there'll be a knock-on effect of now it's been rescheduled. There'll be people who had stuff going on then who, they can't make it. So, whenever you're doing anything like that, rescheduling something, an event, there's always going to be people who, are happy about it. I'm not saying anyone's moaned or out, but I've had a lot of people asking me a lot of questions, which is fair enough. I expect it because I'm quite visible, do you know what I mean, on social media and stuff, and I'll talk to anyone, so, I'm always replying to people about out, really. So if people ask me questions, I don't like ignoring them, do you know what I mean? And people just ignore those questions. I just think that's rude, someone asks you a question, do you know what I mean? I know that with that attitude, I'd be replying to everyone all the time, but, it's been a little bit frustrating because it's just been like, look, I don't know. And then obviously we knew a little bit before that announcement, but not much. And then, you want Future Sound to make that announcement. You don't want to jump the gun and make it yourself. But yeah, so I'm just pleased that that's out there now. Everyone knows where they stand. I think the chances of anything happening to that day are slim. You know what I mean? That should be fine, shouldn't it? All the way next year. But like I say, you just don't know. So yeah, it's been a while since I made a little YouTube video like this, actually. I can't remember what last one was. I think it was that artwork booklet, wasn't it? Bit more of a chilled out one today, this sort of video, to be honest. I'm a bit tired, but you can probably tell, but sorry, it don't matter. So I thought I'd make a little video. But yeah, apart from the gig, what else is going on? Well, obviously the podcast, you know what I mean, which absolutely loving the podcasts, absolutely loving it. I really feel like me and Pete have kind of found a really good dynamic, do you know what I mean, where we offer a nice contrast to each other, I think. In just, in terms of what we say, but sort of like, I don't know, even just the sounds of his voices, do you know what I mean? In terms of a listener listening to it, it's got a nice contrast with Pete's American tones and my whatever noises I make. But it's just, I just really enjoy it. And I think a few people have sort of said, well, you've come out of the gates pretty strong, do you know what I mean, doing one a week. Do you think you can keep that up? And it's like, well, yeah, keep up one a week, it's fine. I don't know, people are like, oh, you've got to keep it going to the gig. Of course, I'd be going beyond that, do you know, unless I get bored. Do you know what I mean? The podcast will go as long as I enjoy it. And as long as I'm enjoying doing it, it'll keep going. And it's no hardship doing one a week, man. Do you know what I mean? Me and Pete, we talk all the time. We can make a show out of quite a few things. But yeah, it's been really nice getting the guests on. We've had some really great guests, haven't we? I mean, obviously all the lads from the band. Having Organised on, Jenny, that were brilliant. Really, really love that episode. I really like how that sits amongst all the other episodes as like a little bit of a contrast. Really enjoyed making that episode. It was a great laugh. And people like Patrick from the Vines, that were a really interesting one. Will Jackson, that were a really, and what's great for me as well is I'm catching up with all these people that I hadn't sort of spoke to in a really long time. Do you know what I mean? Which is really nice. Obviously, it's something that I'm relishing, sort of having come back into, I don't know, the fold, so to speak. I'm really relishing picking up with a lot of the relationships with people. A lot of the people I haven't spoken to in a long time. That's really good. So having Will Jackson on, loved it, and having the Wasp on, Rick McNamara. I don't need to say all about that, do I? I'm presuming most of you will have listened to that episode. I would just call it that. I mean, that were... I don't know how long that episode actually was. I'm sure it was like 2 hours, and we had to cut quite a bit. We had such a laugh making that, though. We really did. And then obviously Tim Burgess as well. Do you know what I mean? That were an absolute pleasure. That what a lovely guy. I mean, I've always known he was a lovely guy from dealing with him previously. But yeah, I just thought it was really nice of him to give up his time, because obviously he's a really, really busy man. Lots of stuff going on, and I'm sure a million people want him to come on the podcast every day. Do you know what I mean? So I was really pleased that he gave up some time to come on ours. Really pleased about that. And yeah, on that note, tonight we've got David Boyd, who was the MD of Hut Records. He was a boss of Hut Records. So I'm buzzing about that because Dave is such a lovely guy, and the bands that he had on that label, the Pumpkins, do you know what I mean? The Verve. So that's going to be really interesting, talking to David Boyd, not only about us on Hut and stuff and being signed to Hut, but Hut in general and Dave's ethos behind it. How he ran the label and how he saw the label fitting in with, the landscape of other labels and how they were doing things, all different kinds of things, because it's something that I've realised that a lot of people outside of the music industry, they have no idea of quite to what extent, how big teams of people can actually be involved in stuff and how things work behind the scenes. And I just think it'd be interesting to give people an insight into that, really, from different perspectives, not only from the record company angle. I really want to get our press officer on as well, hear from people like that. I just think interesting stuff, interesting angles. Anything else on the podcast? Obviously I've got more guests lined up all the time, thinking about guests. Some more difficult to reach than others, so it involves a little bit of talking to a few people, trying to get the right email address, to get the word to the person, so to speak. But there's no rush on any of that. Do you know what I mean? I'm pretty relaxed about who we get on the podcast and when. It's a purely organic thing. If I worried about that, I wouldn't get any sleep. Do you know what I mean? If I thought about it in that sense. But to me, it's just fun. Do you know what I mean? I really love it. Really enjoy doing it. I think that comes across as well in the actual content itself. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't do it if I wasn't enthusiastic about it. It wouldn't sound right. What else am I saying right now? The Patreon and stuff, the Patreon page, and all you guys who are patrons, I fucking love it, man. Do you know, like the live streams we're doing on like Fridays or Saturday night, we're doing one live stream a week, and everyone gets in the live stream, the live streams are open to tier 3 and tier 4 patrons, the ones who get the bonus content. But yeah, it's such a laugh, and I'm really enjoying building the community. And every week people get involved and they're chatting and asking questions, which is what I like, because it gives me something to chew on. Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm doing live stream, fair enough, I play a bit of guitar and that, just jamming and making up riffs while people watch and comment. That's great. But I really like the Q&A side of it as well. And it doesn't have to, it's not just questions about the music or whatever, it's all kinds of stuff. And we've ended up having some right laughs. I've really enjoyed it anyway. And it's fascinating because I get well out of my comfort zone, do you know what I mean? Because like, I filter myself quite a lot, do you know, not in an editing sense, just in what comes out of my mouth a lot of the time. But on the live streams, it tends to go out the window a bit. Tends to go out the window a bit, and it tends to end up being a bit like, what's the word? I don't know, like a bit uncut. And I have to be careful, but I think that adds to it, because it's a case of, oh God, do you know what I mean? What's he going to say? But no, man, I've got some people in there who let me know if I'm going too far or whatever, but it's just too relaxing, do you know what I mean? Like, everyone's so friendly and gets involved in chat and has a laugh and has banter with each other. You know, it's really a really nice sort of communal thing. I really enjoy it. And obviously that, you know, the live streams are only one aspect to the Patreon. You know, if other people are thinking about joining or want to join, the link is on my Twitter, pinned at the top of my Twitter, or you can get to it from Podbean itself. There's a Become a Patron tab. And yeah, that content's developing all the time, but obviously the primary content for that is my songs. So I've released one song already. I'm about to release a second one. And these are demos, you know what I mean? These are loosely formed ideas, but that represents something tangible, certainly. And so yeah, I send out one song a month, and then we're doing the live streams every week, and then we've got the extra storytime content on Podbean as well. And there's other stuff we're doing. What else are we doing? There's some other bits. The Zoom parties as well, we're going to be doing Zoom hangouts and stuff for, that's tier 4 patrons that we do the Zoom hangouts for. But so I've been doing some of them as well, and they're really cool. Yeah, I just love interacting with you guys, and obviously your support means a great deal to me, to everyone who is currently a patron or people who might be thinking about it or whatever. You know, it's not, I don't like to shove it in people's faces. It's not like well, I don't know. I mean, obviously I want as many people involved as possible, but I think by now everyone knows what I'm like. I'm not that guy who's going to be like, oh, look at this, come do this, come join this, do you know what I mean? I'm just not that sort of guy. I'd just rather it sort of gains traction organically. I know I use that word a lot, but it's the same with the podcast, do you know what I mean? If I were a different type of personality, trust me, no motherfucker would have been able to move for me ramming that podcast down people's throats, on everywhere, do you know what I mean? Because that's what people do, I've noticed. You know, just relentless, really posh, like marketing and shit, and you're just like, I don't know, man, like, to me, it's like, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? Like, I ain't done any of that. I ain't done any, like, posh marketing campaigns or done anything other than put the logo out and just go, right, there's an episode up, there's a logo, do you know what I mean? And I don't know, I don't like shoving stuff in people's faces, do you know what I mean? I think it's obnoxious. I think it's obnoxious to be constantly plugging yourself. Don't get me wrong, you know, anyone who's in that sort of business or whatever, you have to plug yourself, you have to believe in yourself. Don't get me wrong, there's a big difference. But, you know, it's that sort of shameless, look at me, that is not me. Do you know, I fight with that every day of my bloody life, do you know what I mean? That's so not me, and I'm sure there's probably some people who are like, oh yeah, right, well, why are you doing all this then? I'm not explaining that again, I've explained it plenty of times. So yeah, I could have been promoting things a lot more, be it the Patreon, be it the podcasts, you know, be it my songs. And it's interesting because some of the patrons on the other night were like, you know, you need to release it, you need to get these songs out to a wider audience. And which is true, but I'm in no rush to do that. Whenever I've got the Patreon core group of fans who really believe in me and who I'm releasing these songs to, even in a stripped down state, and I'm getting feedback from them, do you know what I mean? That's enough fuel to me to keep going. Because that's what I need when I'm creating. It's like taking on constant fuel to keep going, do you know what I mean? And that involves playing stuff to people. For me, if you just keep going without playing anything to anyone, well, certainly I, anyway, find it very easy to lose perspective on quite a lot of things. I like playing select things to select people at select times, and it just fuels that next stage, do you know what I mean? It just sort of makes that next stage that little bit easier. So yeah, what's this? I mean, this video is 20 minutes long. I didn't intend it to be long. it's turned out quite long anyway. I'll probably start wrapping it up now. What I was going to talk about, sorry if I sound a bit quiet or something today, I've run out of my medication. It's alright picking it up this afternoon. But it does just mean that, I have a bit of a lull. More outwardly than inwardly, but anyway, stop talking about that. So yeah, I know I always say I keep making more YouTube videos, and obviously I do plan to, and I will do tutorials as well. People have been asking for some tutorials. I know I did some a while ago, but I'll start doing a few more of those, so I'm fine with that. But yeah, I absolutely fucking love the live streams, mate. It's such a laugh. Looking forward to doing more of those. But yeah, so what else? What I'm going to wrap this up with? So I've talked about podcasts, talked about the gig, the rescheduling of the gig. We all know what's going on with that. That's good. Well, it is what it is, but it will be good, trust me. It'll be all the better for being pushed back to a safe time. It will. No restrictions. Talk about the podcast, how much I'm enjoying that. And it's another opportunity for me now just to give Pete a bit of a shout out, because Pete does an awful lot for me. Don't get me wrong, it comes from me, but Pete is very much on me in terms of come on, Whereas I left my own devices, I can run out of steam. I can run out of steam and think and stop believing in myself. But Pete don't kind of allow that, and I don't know. I've explained it quite a bit, but any chance I get these days, I like to give Pete a little bit of a shout out because he works hard as well. He works hard at not only his job but helping me out. And massive respect to him for that, because he does it out of passion and love. Do you know what I mean? Which is what it's all about, isn't it? Really? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, big shout out to Pete again, as always, and big shout out to all my patrons as well. Obviously, everyone who's supporting me. Thank you very much. So yeah, I think I'll leave that there and recording podcast tonight. So I'm going to do a little bit more thinking about that. Although I don't think too much about it. Do you know, I like to feed off what people are saying. Do you know what I mean? So like with the guest, it's all about that intro and first question for me. Once that's out of the way, the guest's response kind of dictates my next response, and it's a snowball. And it's the same with the live chats, man. The live streams. I really feed off people's input and people's questions and people's comments, people making me laugh. It almost turned into like an improv stand-up routine, the last one, although I don't know on what part of the spectrum it's at, but it was certainly funny. It was funny. And yeah, and anyone who joins up on Patreon as well, I'll send you all the stuff that's already happened. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you miss out on it. I'll just link you to the stuff, because it stays up on private YouTube pages, does the live streams for patrons. So yeah, that'll do. I think, what's that, 23 minutes? God, I only intended it to be 10 minutes. Anyway, there we go. Yeah. Thank you for watching, if you've watched, obviously. And I'll stop being really vague right about now and stop recording. Right, thank you, in a bit.